Colonel Barney Barnum, Sergeant Dakota Meyer, we are truly in your debt, truly. Throughout the history of our Corps, only 300 Marines have received the Medal of Honor, and that number just grew by 2. That is significant. Yesterday I had the privilege of attending a ceremony decades in the making, where our President awarded the Medal of Honor to Major James Capers Jr. and posthumously to Colonel John Ripley. Major Capers, we're proud to call you one of our own. I speak for all Marines when I say congratulations. And those congratulations are heartfelt by every PFC, every private, up through the Commandant. Congratulations, sir. Today's inductees lived those values throughout their long and illustrious careers, and especially in the crucible of their most demanding operations. In April 1967, near Phu Loc, Vietnam, a newly commissioned 2nd Lieutenant Capers and his 9-man element, Team Broadminded, found themselves cut off and surrounded by a massive enemy force.
And so, Lieutenant Capers huddled his men together. They negotiated minefields. They swam a river. And just as they were almost to safety, the enemy opened fire on them. Lieutenant Capers, undaunted. "We killed a bunch of them," he said. At long last, a Sikorsky chopper appeared. Lieutenant Capers refused to leave before his Marines, as the Commandant said. And he remained in command until all his men were aboard. Bleeding and weary as the chopper lifted off, Lieutenant Capers watched as thunder and lightning and high winds and rain moved in. The chopper started to go down. Lieutenant Capers looked up at the night sky and said, "I need help." He prayed, "God, I need you." Well, the chopper went higher and higher, and finally home to safety. God reached out his mighty hand and kept that chopper going, Jim Capers said. God saved us when we needed to be saved. Later, Captain John Ripley confronted the same enemy. The date was Easter Sunday, 1972. His superiors ordered him to the pivotal Don Ha Bridge with a simple order: stand and die. As Captain Ripley recalled, the only way to stop the enemy was to destroy the bridge. With his weapons slung over his back and explosives in his weapon, Captain Ripley started hand-walking himself under the bridge and out over the river. "Jesus, Mary, get me there," he prayed. He repeated it rhythmically. "Jesus, Mary, get me there." Exhausted and starving, Captain Ripley said that suddenly strength came. He swung up and placed the explosives into the I-beams and underneath the bridge. Later, Ripley would say, "The enemy was not happy about this. They were trying to get my attention the whole time and had .30 caliber messages coming my way." But as he put it, they were never successful. On that Easter Sunday, Captain Ripley destroyed that bridge. He stopped that enemy. And in those terrible, magnificent moments that we recall here today, the fellow warriors of then Lieutenant Capers and then Captain Ripley bore witness to a truth that no totalitarian ideology can ever suppress. The free man is made in the image of God. All men made in the image of God.
The President of the United States, in the name of the Congress, takes pleasure in presenting the Medal of Honor to 2nd Lieutenant James Capers, Jr., United States Marine Corps. While struggling to maintain consciousness and still under enemy attack, 2nd Lieutenant Capers maintained command of the situation to ensure all of his Marines were evacuated before he, barely able to stand, finally boarded the helicopter. By his bold leadership, undaunted courage, and complete dedication to duty, Second Lieutenant Capers reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. Signed, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. The Pentagon's Hall of Heroes contains the names of the service members in our nation.
It reminds me of some dark days of some brave men who are not here today. So I'll speak for them today. And thank you all for coming here to honor a group of Marines and their families. This is very important to us to keep our legacy going. Now, I've said enough. So I'm going to say thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. God bless you. Simplify.
Dedication to duty, Captain Ripley reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. Signed, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Ripley.
The actions leading up to destroying the bridge are a perfect example of this truth. The training my father received as a Marine officer, as a Force Reconnaissance Marine, attending the U.S. Army Ranger School, and the Royal Marine Commando course gave him the skills to blow that bridge. The leadership of his senior advisor, Lieutenant Colonel Jerry Turley, at 95 years old. This team is on a mission to correct the record, to fix the unfixable, to do the right thing, regardless of the cost. Our president did that yesterday, and we are lucky and fortunate to have that type of leadership. Was the final reserve committed, ordered to go to Dong Ha and try to slow the force? A little over than 10 days later, that unit stood in formation. Of the 650 men sent to Dong Ha, 52 men stood in formation. Nothing great is ever accomplished by the individual. It's always accomplished by the team. And this award is for the team. Lastly, probably the most important teammate. At every promotion, at every award ceremony, at every event, my father would thank my mother. She was a driving force behind his accomplishments. When he blew up the bridge, Captain Ripley was on his second 13-month combat tour. And my mother, the quintessential military spouse, was at home with a 7-year-old and my sister and I under the age of 2. The silent fight the military spouses forge on a daily basis is nothing short of remarkable. My father would rightly recognize my mother at every event as his source of strength. Everything they did as a team. Next to every great man, there's a woman that expects nothing less.
We are proud to claim the title of the United States Marine.
How are you?